2025 was a pretty decent year, all things considered. Yes, I know things are bleak and the UK is becoming a dystopian nightmare, but in terms of my personal life, I'm actually rather content with myself this year. First of all, the weekly poems have all been completed. When I started them back in January, I honestly thought I would not make all 52 of them. But look! That was 51 of them, most of them being different forms. Some were simple, like the haiku, or the sonnet. Others, however, were not simple. I'd actually called upon a good friend of mine to help write the poems Rain and Even After So Long. They helped by giving me the inside scoop on how the forms work and were happy to springboard ideas off of. Speaking of which, Rain is my favourite poem that I wrote this year. The fact that it sits at less than 100 views at the time of writing this is a shame. I practically defecated out Nature Heals a few weeks later, and that was my first somewhat viral poem. Please go watch or read Rain. I love it so much. So, successful poetry aside, what else have I done? In short, writing fanfiction. Stay with me here. 2023, I was doing a rewrite of my first fanfic. Towards the end of that year, an old classmate of mine under the online name of Mink reached out to me and offered for us to write together. This is how 2024 was spent, and honestly, I still really like those stories we wrote for the Stormhawks fandom. Probably because they were extra canon, so were in orbit of the main characters / timeline. Despite this, we started to dream bigger, and after a poll on the Stormhawks Discord server I was in, we aimed for our most ambitious project yet. This project amounted to a prequel series, not set 10 years before the show, but 500 years before, when the first Sky Knight arose and freed the Atmos. The story, Rex, the first Sky Knight, is able to be read on fanfiction.net and archiveofourown.org. There's no charge, no login. Hell, the story doesn't even need prior knowledge of the source material. If you go in with an open mind, all will be taught and revealed. We worked our fingers to the bone all year on this 120,000 word plus story, so a read would be really appreciated. We originally drafted 17 stories / chapters for this fic, but when we started writing in January, it took that whole month just to write chapter 1. We had to cut, paste, and rewrite most of the stories to fit what will become a 13-part story instead. I think we did really well, personally. The Rex fic, as I call it, had 4 main heroes: Rex, Polyree, Corbo, and Trogo. Given our cutting and rewriting, however, this became less of Rex's story and more of Polyree's. Mink and I love her as a character and wept when her story ended. That's not to say writing was smooth. We were always fighting the clock, and me starting the fortnightly posting 6 weeks early was a major blunder on my part. Not to mention how chapter 8 is 14,000 words alone. Nevertheless, it's finished too, and we are free to give each other space. Mink has no interest in notoriety, so her works are all you'll see of her. Me, however, I have some plans. First, and as a disclaimer, Mink and I are spending much less time together in 2026, but we will be working together. On what? I don't know if I can say, but it'll be cool anyway. I, meanwhile, will have some projects of my own. First is another weekly thing, not poems, but a weekly story serial. Second, I'm writing a book as a private endeavour. Don't ask, I'm not sharing details. Third, I'm planning on live typing a story through live streams. When this happens remains to be seen, but it's like a mix between The 100 and Final Destination. It'll be great. Fourthly, I'll be publicly sharing progress on a book I started writing in 2018 and never finished. It'll be good to finish that at last. Anyway, that's a recap of 2025 and a plan for 2026. Good luck out there. We all need it. Furious Ink Blot.